I am pleased to inform you that we have arrived at the labyrinth. Please be advised that the punishment for trespassing is execution. Please be advised that electrical storms on the surface of Tartarus make departure impossible at this time. Oh, speak of the devil. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the prison's docking authority now.
Attention, unauthorized spacecraft. This is a maximum security installation. Your presence here is an explicit violation of UDL corporate policy. You are hereby confined to your docking platform until a ticket detailing your crimes has been filed and notarized, at which point your vessel will be seized and you will be executed. UDL does appreciate the courtesy you've done us by delivering yourself here. As a show of our deepest gratitude, we will make your execution quite swift. Huh? Oh, yes, sir. Right away, sir. I just couldn't see you clearly before. Screen's on the fritz. Damn thing. But for the record, now that I hear you, I totally recognize you. Totally. You're, you, of course. Obviously. Anyway, Tartarus Docking Authority signing up. Hang on. Another ship just pulled into your dock. Wait, is that from the Groundbreaker? What the? Pay no mind to that. Just have a pleasant day.
Transmission terminated. Biometric ID received. Transferring data to external cartridge. How can I be of assistance? May luck be with you. Of course, as I am sure you are aware, luck does not exist. But it seems to comfort humans to believe they possess good quantities of it.
So, dann Reihe ins Verderben.
Do return for one piece.
Ich meine, das dürfte jetzt nicht mehr allzu lange dauern. Wir müssten den nur noch rausholen und dann müsste das gewesen sein.
The captain did right by us once. The board will never own Groundbreaker. Not while I breathe. Push on, Mardat.
How long we last on the surface.
Getting in's one thing. Let's just hope we're able to get out again.
Lead the way, boss. I got your back.
Ich weiß nämlich nicht, ob die Verkleidung irgendwas bringt. Aber ich glaube schon fast nicht, so wie das aussieht. Oh, Verkaufsautomaten, super.
Remember, your needs have been provided for.
Muss ich nur gucken.
All right, MSI. I'm not one for rousing speeches, but the captain needs our help. So get in there and fight!
What? Are you new here? I didn't think we were hiring more staff. Whoa, nothing. I was just asking. I was going to welcome you aboard. Okay, all right.
Boah, schwierig. Also ich finde, Fallout 4 hat mehr so dieses apokalyptische, ne, wo halt diese Welt zerstört ist, und Outer Worlds, es geht in eine komplett andere Richtung gefühlt. Da könnte man eher Starfield mit Outer World vergleichen. Und da ist Outer World doch so an manchen Stellen doch besser aufgebaut als Starfield.
Well, look who it is. I'll be damned. I was prepping the studio for our announcement, and here you are as a bonus. And I see you've brought the kid along. Babysitters may be expensive, but they're worth it, you know.
Yeah, keep talking, pal. I'll just keep thinking of a place to bury your body.
Ah, and the wayward doctor. Are you about done with your escapades? We have faces that need lifting, after all.
These days, I'm more interested in breaking them. Wouldn't mind taking a swing at yours.
When you go off and get yourself shot, try to avoid taking one to the face. I'll want it recognizable to show to my citizens. Haven't you heard? Phineas is working for us now. It took some doing, but employing an efficient management strategy of putting our guns to his head seems to have done the trick. Yes, he is an extraordinarily obstinate fellow, isn't he? Fine, he isn't working for us per se. Semantics, he'll come around. But that's between us. As far as my adoring citizens will know, we've turned a dangerous crackpot into a working-class man. It's a miracle. Oh yes, go on, wake them up, add more mouths to feed. That'll solve our starvation problems. I don't know what half-baked plans that simpleton in a lab coat has been leading you through, but it's done. It's over. Let me ask you something, Captain. Have you at any point thought about not fucking up our entire society?
Are you kidding me? We're out here trying to clean up your mess.
I'm making actual progress towards stabilization and recovery. You're just getting in the way. Oh, right. This coming from the psychopathic outlaw. Yes, I'll try to be more open-minded about your path of wanton dissent. We don't need your help. You have? Is that what you were doing at the Ministry? Look, I'm not an unreasonable man. If you manage to storm the castle, as it were, and make it out of here with Phineas alive, I can't exactly afford more havoc than you've already caused. Fine. If you survive, you'll need someone to sell the rest of the board on your plan.
Are you out of your mind? Rockwell's the biggest monster in Halcyon. You got any idea how many lives he's destroyed? How many people he's hurt? I've had enough. You even think about cooperating with this animal? And you and I are finished.
Oh mein Gott. Ich dürfte Felix nicht mitnehmen.
You're damn right it is.
If you're gonna place more faith on this brat than the chairman of the fucking colony, then there's no hope for you. Go get yourself killed.
You're not worth it.
Mess him up!
Eigentlich bräuchten wir den auf unserer Seite. Quasi als Marionette. Und dann darf ich Felix nicht mitnehmen. Jetzt muss ich gucken, welche Richtung gehe ich denn? 22. Gehen wir mal hier rum.
I don't see what the fuss is about a blasted lab coat.
You, ain't feeling jittery, are you? 'Cause I'm not.
Hope you're right about this, Captain.
Captain, you have an uncanny talent for complicating my life. You've disrupted the balance of power. You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty. Typical. Running your mouth in the middle of a crisis. It's almost as if you delighted chaos. I should have dealt with you a long time ago. You were always too dangerous to leave unchecked. I'm not surprised by your arrogance. You've been prancing about the colony for entirely too long, with no one to put you in your place. Leaving you alive was my greatest mistake, but it is a mistake I intend to correct. I have Dr. Wells in my custody. Once I've secured his cooperation, I can move forward with the program. I can repair the damage you've done. I can set things right. Fair enough.
Euer
I'm
Ernst?
giving you exactly one chance to parlay with me.
Euer Ernst? 150 Punkte? Willst du mich
This
verarschen?
prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry. I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically or something.
Oh, wofür brauche ich eigentlich Charisma, wenn ich das nicht nutze? Ah, nein. Hört die falschen Sachen an. Aber selbst dann käme ich nicht auf 150 Charisma. Das sind nur 10 Punkte, die ich dazu bekomme. Ich brauche 130 und ich brauche 150. Uff, das ist doch scheiße. Das ist doch scheiße. Ist egal, müssen wir es so nehmen, wie es ist. Fertig. Können wir es nicht ändern. Das ist doof. Dein Ernst jetzt? Sind meine Hackerfähigkeiten zu niedrig? Boah, nette Rüstung. Nette Rüstung. Ach, das ist doch... Mich ärgert das gerade, ne? Dass wir die nicht überzeugen können. Ah, ich habe ja nicht genug Punkte. Wir haben also ein bisschen scheiße geskillt, wenn es danach geht, ne? Also Stealth hätten wir eigentlich komplett weglassen können. Das hat uns überhaupt nichts gebracht. Charisma war eher so Charisma und Teammitglieder. Das wäre so das Beste gewesen. So, ich speichere jetzt nochmal, weil ich ihn noch auf Charisma umwechseln will. Dialogfähigkeiten und dann die komische Maske.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved, and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough. I know, my friend, I know. And now it's finally over. The board's finished. It's only a matter of time before the entire system slips from their grasp. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated. I would like nothing more than to celebrate this victory, but we have a serious problem on our hands. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
Hold on, Doc. Are you telling me the Earth went dark 3 years ago? And the board's just been covering this up?
They've been incredibly effective at concealing the truth. Right now, the only people in the colony who know are standing in this room.
They haven't exactly been hands-on around here anyway. So there's one less rubber stamp to worry about.
Earth is humanity's home planet, Miss Fenhill. The psychological effects of losing our original home will be devastating. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own. Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds. And then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us? When I revived you, I thought you were going to help me save this colony. I was wrong. I had our roles reversed, you see. You're the one who's going to save us all. I'm just the one who set you on your path. You're the best thing to ever happen to Halcyon. If you want to take it upon yourself to lead this colony, you have my support. We're not a colony any longer, are we? Our last connection to Earth has been severed, and so we have been set free. Our future is uncertain, and no one knows what tomorrow holds. Exciting, isn't it?
Wir sind durch, glaube ich. Ja.
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. Sanjar's civil liberties and worker-centric policies were slow to catch on with the other corporations. But as Halcyon began its long, arduous journey toward recovery, many of Terra 2's smaller townships started adopting MSI's alternative corporate structure, and eventually became entirely self-sufficient. In the coming years, many of these townships managed to eke by, where otherwise they might have starved. Adelaide McDevitt replaced Reed Thompson as the leader of Edgewater. She and her followers transformed Edgewater in their image. Anyone loyal to Reed was pressured into leaving town, and those who stayed behind adapted to her way of life. Adelaide transformed the old cannery into a new garden. The nearby Edgewater Cemetery provided a convenient source of fertilizer. Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the Groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers schooled in her family's traditions. The future of the Groundbreaker looks promising. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Even the Gorgon asteroid, though a distant enigma to most of Halcyon, felt the aftershocks of your actions. The destroyed Adrenatime synthesizer became a symbol of the board's cruelty and a rallying point for Wells and his scientists as they sought to build a more humane, ethical Halcyon. They cleared the dead from Gorgon's laboratories and repurposed them to aid in the crucial work of solving the colony's nutrition crisis. Gorgon, which had once sown death and destruction across Halcyon, became a source of hope and renewal. The Gorgon Project's final explosive end was bittersweet for Olivia Ambrose. She wandered the colony's fringes alone, searching for others like her who despised the board and meant to destroy them. In time, she found Phineas Wells and his cadre of scientists, and she joined them in their efforts to save Halcyon. For a while, she even knew an uneasy peace. But for all that, Olivia found purpose in Wells' project. She was always haunted by the memory of her daughter, Minnie, who hadn't lived to see the better world they were building. She never did forgive herself for the horror her work had wrought on Halcyon. But she remembered fondly the daring captain who'd put an end to it at last. In spite of everything, the Gorgon asteroid remained a sobering reminder of the potential for progress and disaster in humanity's most ambitious efforts. The Rizzo's company in Halcyon dissolved after the collapse of the board. Needless to say, the launch of Spectrum Brown was indefinitely delayed. A stockpile of Spectrum Brown remains buried deep beneath the ruins of the old distillery, abandoned to time and attrition. With the dissolution of the board, Ruth Bellamy found herself without the two constants in her life, Byzantine culture and her sister Belinda. In the face of this new reality, she struggled to find a direction for her life. The colony had moved on from Halcyon Helen and would require new heroes in the years to come. And so Ruth Bellamy decided it was time to exit stage left. She quietly disappeared from public view. The dissolution of the board did not mean the dissolution of the ambitions of Cedric Kincannon, the charismatic leader of Sublight Underground. Cedric offered Slug's transportation services to the newly thawed colonists and set to work ferrying resources and food wherever they were most needed. For better or worse, Slug headgear became fashionable in the following years. After a brief attempt at dating Helen as one person rather than two, which both Bertie and Helen found too strange, Bertie struck out on his own to try his hand at raising woolly cows. Many of his former Rangers teammates soon followed, accompanied by the woolly cow the team had originally plied with alcohol. The dairy farm thrived under Bertie's leadership and care. The Dairy Rangers privately believed that the woolly cows softened Bertie's temper considerably, although the only one brave enough to say this to his face was promptly headbutted. Your influence shifted Ellie's perspective. She finally admitted, albeit grudgingly, that she just might need other people. Sometimes. With a steady income from the life insurance payouts, she was finally able to afford a ship of her own. She hired a small crew and flew supply missions to communities on the fringe. Some of them were even legal. Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. As much as he enjoyed his adventures aboard the Unreliable, the vicar, known as Max, eventually decided that it was time to move on, to live out the life he had sought so long to create. He knew there were many in the colony who carried burdens much worse than the ones he had struggled with, and he devoted himself to easing their suffering wherever he could. He only ever took up arms again to defend the defenseless. Unshackled from a lifetime of striving and fighting the universe and himself, Vicar Maximilian de Soto was finally at peace. Once the matter with the Hope colonists was resolved, Junlei bashfully asked Parvati if she'd like to join her permanently on the Groundbreaker, and Parvati enthusiastically, if somewhat awkwardly, agreed. The stories of her adventures spread across the colony, and Parvati soon found herself the center of attention. Having served as the engineer of a renowned spacecraft, tramp freighters and wildcat miners sought her out by name, and in no time, she was a fixture in the Groundbreaker's mechanical ecosystem. She and Junlei were never far apart. Nyoka returned to Monarch to take another crack at making a permanent life for herself. She formed the Charon Group, an MSI subsidiary of ragtag survivalists and wilderness experts. Anyone in need of a guide, or just looking to throw back a beer and swap stories, could find her camping on the trail or clearing an infestation. The SAM unit that accompanied you spread awareness of the product line's superior sanitation and maintenance capabilities across what was left of the colony. This led to a boost in SAM unit sales. Did you know that SAM units are the longest-lasting, toughest-acting cleaning solution in Halcyon? Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. He eventually came to terms with his own past and was able to forgive the mistakes of his younger self by devoting his remaining years to serving the colony. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the Ministry. Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these chemicals. In the end, Dr. Wells was able to save every scientist and engineer aboard the Hope. Over the next decade, nearly all of the Hope's remaining colonists were successfully revived. Halcyon saw a period of rapid technological and scientific advancement. Breakthroughs in dietary supplements saved the colony from starvation. Geoengineering projects and social reforms began to change the structure and character of the colony. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Today, Halcyon has stabilized. The people of the colony work hard to adapt to their new circumstances. Nearby colonies send aid and supplies. Life will never be easy in Halcyon, but for the first time in its history, there exists a sense of real, genuine hope about the future. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? Long after Wells passed away, you carried on his work with more energy, determination, and brilliance than he could ever muster. The years that followed were hard, but Halcyon survived by the efforts of the Hope's most promising colonists, the greatest of which was you. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Ja, das war's. Wir sind durch. Habe ich ja gesagt. Ich denke, dass der zweite Teil dann wahrscheinlich auf der Erde spielen wird oder mit der Erde was zu tun hat. Und ich denke auch, dass die Charaktere jetzt im ersten Teil, im zweiten Teil wahrscheinlich gar nicht mit drin sind. Also ich bin gespannt, wann der kommt. Es gibt da, glaube ich, noch kein Release-Datum. Aber wir werden den zweiten auch spielen. Aber ich muss sagen, die DLCs haben mir nicht so gut gefallen. Die haben mir damals schon nicht so gut gefallen und irgendwie war es jetzt auch nicht wirklich besser. Und hätte das irgendwie als Story irgendwie mit einbinden können. Aber so, naja. Ja. Noch ein anderes Ende gibt? Nein. Also es gibt's, ja, das heißt nein. Also es gibt's, also Phineas stirbt egal bei welchem Ende, wenn ich das weiß. Es gibt halt noch ein anderes Ende, wenn du den Typen überzeugen kannst, den ich ja vorhin erschossen habe. Dann hast du ein paar Sachen anders. Und wenn du einen anderen Ruf hast in dem Fall, sind so ein paar Sachen anders. Aber ansonsten müsste man googeln, was es da noch so gibt für Enden. Muss einfach gucken, Outer Worlds, All Endings. Da wirst du bestimmt noch mehr finden. Deswegen, ich bin gespannt, wie der zweite Teil wird. Ich kann mal gucken, ob es da schon irgendwelche Infos gibt. Was, ich muss mit das Spiel ausmachen. Kann ich mal gucken. Und ich habe jetzt noch Erfolge bekommen, sehe ich gerade. Oh, ich werde es jetzt nicht auf 100% spielen. More Graphics. Gibt es ein Release-Datum? Ich hoffe, dass das direkt auch auf Steam kommt. Muss man kurz schauen, warte. Aber ich denke, da gibt es noch keins, ne? Weil es soll ja wohl 2025 kommen. Ja, schön. Das wäre schön, wenn du das auf Deutsch übersetzen würdest und nicht in Englisch schreibst. Möglicherweise im Spätwinter oder im Sommer. Also im Sommer oder Winter nächstes Jahr kommt das. Soll der zweite Teil kommen. Müssen wir mal gucken, wie dann die Lage ist, ob wir es dann schon bestellen können. Was ist auch noch nicht hundertprozentig sicher, ob es überhaupt nächstes Jahr kommt. Na, deswegen, da müssen wir mal gucken. Morgen machen wir dann, wie gesagt, ein bisschen Lego. Dann machen wir Lego Indiana Jones. Machen wir ein bisschen was anderes morgen. Die letzten Tage im Jahr. Ich wünsche euch noch was. Wir sehen uns morgen. Ciao, ciao.